Yes, is it working?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think your presentation.
Okay. Why does it look like this?
Full screen.
How?
The corner. Yeah.
Ah, okay. Yeah, cool. Why does it look like this here? Okay, whatever. So, I don't know. I think if we are not too many people here and also online. I like to ask questions and I like communicating, but I don't know if this is gonna be okay. Yeah? No? Okay, fine. So I would like to ask you if you have heard. Obviously, you have heard something about crush studies. Can you give any ideas of? No. Okay, so this is what we are about to figure out. So crush studies, this is a theory that I created randomly last year. Today I'm going to talk about how this theory was born, like where did it come from, and also I added a part which is dedicated to interspecies crushes. So we are going to talk about different types of attraction and relationships, not necessarily romantic, but like many other also types of attraction. So here is the structure of what we are going to speak about. So the first point is what is crush studies, a brief background, then definitions and theoretical backgrounds, methodologies and variation, and then the interspecies part. Species or species? Okay, good. Yeah, so can we have a crush on a non-human being and how interspecies approach in crush studies can be helpful. So let's start with memes. Like this whole theory is on the verge between being a meme and being a serious thing. So this is kind of like what I don't know, I'm still balancing between these two. So sometimes I get too theoretical and too serious, and sometimes I'm telling jokes. So this is the joke part, because how crush studies began. Last year, it was in winter, I think. I was sitting with my laptop, like doing some work in the kitchen, and I don't know how it happened, but I occasionally dropped my laptop on the floor, and it wasn't working. Like my screen nearly broke down, like nothing was functioning, and I was really worried. So I just put my laptop aside for the whole day, and I already texted all the services like, please fix my laptop. But then in the evening, I came back home and I was like, okay, I should try to turn it on again. I turned it on and it worked. And when I was putting my PIN, like password to open my laptop, I realized that this password is actually a birthday of one of my crushes. I never thought about it because I always enter it automatically, but then I was like, oh, this is where it came from. And I started thinking about like different connections between like why I ever decided to think that like I should make a password with my crush's birthday, like why wouldn't I don't know, choose some an easier option. And I was like thinking, like, are my crushes similar to each other? Like, or are they all very different people? Is there any type? Turned out that there were types. And I decided to make a presentation for my friend. I like had a list of crushes, and I put like them on the slides, and I just sent him the PowerPoint, and he was like, "Oh, wow! How did you like make the selection?" And we were like talking, discussing it, and then it got to the theory. So here is the statistics from Google Trends on how the word crush has been used for the last, I don't know, about 15 years, I guess. So this is the statistics that come from the searches on Google. So this is how often the word crush has been searched. Yeah, you can see. So here was the peak It was 2013, a peak of the word crush in Google. That was where a movie came up with such name. But we can see in general that if we compare with 2004, right, and what we have in the numbers here, like they definitely went up. But here, for example, this is like the highest point. Do you know what that was? Also a movie, a Chinese drama called A Crush. It was 2020, I guess. Also, we have a synonym for having a crush, which is falling in love. And this has also been searched a lot on Google. Apparently, it was more popular over the period than crushes. And what is surprising for me that falling in love has this dramatic fall down in November of 2019. It's not written here, but I remember because I checked. Yeah, so this is a mystery, but generally, also this trend is quite surprising. Like people decided to, I don't know, investigate love for some reason. But still, I don't know, falling in love remains more popular overall, although here, crushes and falling in love were kind of, I don't know, not that much apart. Okay, so since we spoke about how we use these words, we can take a look at definitions. So a crush refers to the act of crushing. So this can also be, I don't know, maybe a synonym to hit something or somebody. And we can see that this word has been used since 16th century, but in slang, it became, hey, come in. Hi. Yeah, you haven't missed too much. We've just spoken about like how often we use the word crush and how often we use the word love or falling in love. And here are the definitions and etymology of these words from, I don't know, just a website dedicated to etymology. So yeah, a crush is like a hit, a gesture of hitting something, or a violent collision, as they say. And also it became used in the slang as having a crush on someone in around like the beginning of the 20th century. Love, on the other hand, is more ancient, although it also comes down like fall in love, 15th century, to be in love. This is like 16th century. So it became being used slightly earlier than like 1 century earlier than the word crush. Okay, but also love refers to romantic sexual attraction, as they say, affections, friendliness, love of God. So this is like loving someone. And here I put a note, which is important, that attractions, and it is just important for our future talk about crushes, that attraction is not only romantic sexual, as they say, but attraction can be also platonic, aesthetic, romantic, and sexual. So these four types are something to keep in mind, because when we will talk about interspecies, this will help. Okay, so if we visualize this, so the act of crushing is a fist that hits you. This is unexpected, and the act of love is something more friendly, is something that you expect and something that you develop. And also from the etymology, we can also like have a link with this quote from an article on Insider, which was written, unfortunately, oh yeah, we have a name, Dr. Baki Kolowol. She is a therapist, and or maybe they use they pronouns. I'm not sure. I don't remember. And so there is no obviously clinical definition for a crush, but what is important that crushes are rooted in fantasy, and the person who's crushing tends to project their values onto the person they desire. And also this differs from a romantic interest or relationship, where what you know more about the person and like your real life experience builds on like this attraction and makes you continue to be in this relationship. So crushes are unexpected, imaginary, and romantic interest or relationships are more like they are evolving in time and they have like continual real life togetherness, so to say. Obviously, when we speak about crushes, they are like far away from us. Usually, we don't even know them personally. And here come the celebrity crushes. Of course, has anybody had a celebrity crush? Yeah? Can anyone share? No? Okay. Yeah, but what was it like? Like, how did you understand that you have a crush on this celebrity? Like, was it
watch and rewatch interviews and videos.
Yeah.
Talking about celebrity crushes.
Yeah, 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 like watching the videos. Or oh, by the way, also like there are people who have crush on fictional characters sometimes. Yeah, did you have that? Yeah, because I was always like wondering because for me it was difficult to like imagine how you can have a crush on an imaginary. I mean, not imaginary, but a fictional character. Yeah, but this is actually where a lot of fan fiction comes from, I guess, because you kind of project your, I don't know, anything, fantasies onto these people. And speaking about celebrities and media, obviously we observe celebrities through media, like, and especially when we have like now Instagram, all of these millions platforms, they create a sense of being like a friend to a celebrity, like being very close to them because we can like watch their stories, we know what they eat, we know where they go, like what clothes they wear, who they date, anything. Like this became very transparent. I mean, the life of the celebrities, and this is really obvious to us right now. But in the 1950s, there was an article, or I don't know, or maybe there is also a book by Donald Harton and Richard Wall. So they spoke about parasocial relationships, which was the term that they introduced with the beginning of with the rise of media and television, where people would watch TV and form a relationship with this, I don't know, beings that they observed on the screen, but that obviously weren't real to them. I mean, they are imagined as they really exist, but this is like the controversy that comes with that. So we perceive the person on the screen as a real one, and we imagine like we have this connection with them, but in fact, it is not quite like that. Because obviously we can talk to the TV screen, but we cannot like become friends with an actor or a celebrity or especially a fictional character. So parasocial interaction, it's an interaction where, as I said, like when the audience or a viewer, a spectator, we all are in a way spectators when we are on social media and we scroll. And this is the relationship and the interaction which is formed between us and the people who create content. So not necessarily, I think this can be a celebrity, it can be just some person you know, maybe you know them well, maybe not. So this really depends, can be different. And when we have these interactions and when they continue all like over a certain period of time, they can develop into a parasocial relationship, which is like we already imagine it in our heads as like we can imagine that the person we like on the social media understands us so well, it fits us perfectly, like I don't know, I want to marry them or something. So this helps to form the illusion of intimacy, friendship, and maybe identification also with this character. So these are four key features that these authors identify about parasocial relationships. So they have to, like, this relationship should have regular interactions. It should create feeling of intimacy and closeness through sharing personal information. And this is like through sharing personal information comes the exchange of experience. So they share and you kind of share mentally. Or sometimes, I don't know, have you ever written maybe messages to the celebrities you liked? No, like any messages really.
Excuse me,
Hello. Sure. Camila, you came right at the part of parasocial relationships.
What?
Parasocial relationships. Come on. What? You want to go back?
It's like a deep connection.
Yeah, I know that you know.
What?
I know that you know. I'm just telling you because we discussed.
So now I have to
No, no, Camila. Yeah. A lot of choice. Yeah. So back to the question: have you ever written messages to celebrities? Yes. Yes. Yeah. Can you talk about it?
Like direct messages, like even just read notes that you would never do.
Yeah. And
I message someone, like I'm very minor, like a celebrity, and I usually I message on Facebook, WhatsApp, if they're really cool.
oh, did they
Yeah.
reply
Yeah,
to you? Yeah.
just like cool things.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I discovered recently, like, it was the cringiest thing ever, to be honest. But my sister texted me something about hairstyles. I don't know, randomly, but we were just discussing something, and I went to, like, and I decided to check. Like, she said to me, like, "Do you remember you sent me messages or something?" I was like, "No way, I couldn't have done that." But I went to my Instagram and I actually found that, like, several years ago, I sent hairstyles messages saying, like, I don't know, I was like very critical of their work. I don't know. Obviously, yeah, well, again, this is like a message which you direct somewhere, but it probably will not even reach the person who you address it to. So, from all that we've just spoken about, the parasocial relationships and different, like, definitions of crush versus love attraction, I haven't done it before, to be honest, but today I decided that crush studies has to be defined. So the definition that I came up with now looks like this. So crush studies is an interdisciplinary field that addresses peripheral and unexpected forms of attraction or relationships. Peripheral, I say, because this is like when you say relationship, it's like what you mean by that in the first place is not a parasocial relationship, and it's not probably a crush that we mean by a word relationship or attraction. By attraction, yeah, perhaps. But so this is why I say peripheral, because they are like in the side view. And yeah, where the object of attraction is strongly connected to the imaginary is strongly connected to the imaginary of the subject. I know I have the subject-object dualism here, but I think this is problematic and this can be criticized. And if you have any thoughts or ideas about that later, I'd love to hear. But I feel that crush studies is something that really deals with, and the whole phenomenon of a crush actually deals with, like, the one who is viewing and the other one who is being looked at. And this is where this subject-object dichotomy comes from. And I think in this case it can be relevant. Although, yeah, again, there is a lot of problematic points about also the word studies, but yeah, um, but I feel that for now it would be helpful to, make some key points. Yeah, it can include different methodologies or concepts from queer studies, sociology, psychology, media studies, and so on. I probably had something else. There here must have been philosophy because I've been thinking about it, but obviously the list can go on. And queer studies here because all of the types of attraction, they mostly come from asexual identities and vocabulary kind of. Okay, yeah, so here is the example of subject object, like looking and being afraid to be seen, and the whole gaze within the context of a crush. I think it's a whole different topic, like the subject object and also the viewing. Because when romantic relationship is about like communicating more maybe and like getting in touch, I think with crush we have to deal a lot with the gaze, which is interesting.
What I see here is on gaze back, this movement of gazes. So could it be possible that subject-object relationships are like more flexible?
Yeah,
They're
obviously.
moving from one to another.
Yeah.
So
Because this guy, I think, like he is really scared of being seen, and this one is like suspecting something.
So what's the crush feel like when like you're an object, or like when, like from the other person's point of view, what does it look like? Because it's not a game anymore, it's like I think you're like feeling attraction, but you're not sure like where it's coming from.
Yeah. You mean from the point of view of a person who is a crush?
on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well, I've also like I thought about it a lot, and I thought like, what can it feel like when you are, because you definitely feel looked at in a way, like not constantly, obviously, but in some cases. Like maybe you see that somebody's watching your stories very often, or I don't know. I'm just giving a random example. Why are you laughing? Tell me.
I think that this discourse of watching stories is
Yeah. Okay. Well, that can be an example, but watching in real life is obviously also like maybe more relevant. Yeah. But if you have experience of being crushed on and being looked at, this would be an interesting thing to discuss, I think, if you are okay with sharing, if you have such experience, because I think that is really interesting. Yeah.
it's a one.
Support group for crushes. Whose crush are you? Okay. Oh, it's like being a vampire. Like somebody should, initiate you into being a crush. Like you cannot just be a crush. Somebody has to. Yeah. For you to be a crush. Yeah.
What is it? Crush? It's so dangerous.
Yeah, it really is. I think. And yeah, here's a bunch of practical goals of crush studies. I think we're not going to go through all of them, but this really can like help us find out a lot about ourselves as well. I think this is an important point because when we look at people and we know what we like about them, this also tells us a lot about ourselves. Like what we want, what we are like, what kind of connection we want to have. Also, maybe this can help your therapist with conceptualizing your problems. Also, obviously, it can be fun or it can be a very boring long lecture. and yeah, entertainment versus being serious. So now we talk about how we evaluate crushes. There is criteria. There are two sets of criteria. Characteristics of a crushing process and personal characteristics of a crush. So crushing process is like how it happens, like how you feel. It can have number one, crush endurance. How long did it last? Was it an hour? Just, I don't know, a second, just saw somebody in the street. Or was it months or years? Who knows? It can have crush dynamics, meaning the intensity, how, I don't know, maybe how intense you felt during this period. How long did it take you to understand that you have a crush on this person? Maybe you had some periods where it was like ups and downs. Maybe that would be relevant. My favorite criteria is ready to die coefficient. I don't know if you intuitively understand that, if I have to explain it. But it's like how much you feel like giving up your life when you see this person. Um, Interactions in real life, like 4 and 5, are really connected to parasocial relationships and to like romantic potential, especially, is the point that bridges you to romantic like relationship. Like if we keep in mind the dichotomy between the crush versus romantic relationship, the higher is your romantic potential, the more you are likely to, you know, end up in an actual relationship with this person. And also, obviously, to end up in an actual relationship, you have to interact in real life, which is point 4. Next, personal characteristics of a crush. This is what they are. This is just some criteria that I wrote down based on which I was like describing my crushes, but they can be different. You see here mentioned birth chart. This may be irrelevant for people who don't use astrology as a method for explaining somebody's personality, because I did that because it was easier for me. But so name, date of birth, I don't know, just to name them somehow. Then we can describe the character, we can describe their primary activities or interests, if they had a particular appearance, if that is important for you, also that, or some behavior patterns, maybe something they did in your communication or some habits they had, something like that. But obviously this can be extended, like if you feel like getting something else, it's possible. And what do we do next? We select a number of crushes that we want to make a research on, and then we make evaluations based on all of these criteria. After we did this, we can see if we can, you know, structure them, put them into several types, if maybe there are some similar characteristics that come up, and also count average scores based on this different criteria, because some of them, yeah, you can rate from 0 to 10. These are a few examples of some crushes I had, like from the very first presentation that I showed to my friend. And this is like, some of them are anonymous because they are actual people, and I don't know if they want to be in the presentation because we don't communicate really anymore. So you can see here that crush endurance, it was quite long. Crush dynamics, codependence, and high intensity. Ready to die coefficient was 9, so I was like super idealizing this person. Oh my god, terrible. This is why, yeah, it was codependence, I guess. Romantic potential, weird. Yeah, but also interaction in real life are higher. So there is some romantic potential, obviously, and like some personal characteristics here. Skills and Sontag, the exemplary crush. Yeah, endurance about 6 months. Like all of the rest, you can see also ready to die coefficient quite high. Interactions in real life, 0 because she's dead. Romantic potential, 0 also because she's dead. But that's a different story that she's dead. Also, Patti Smith, she's not dead yet, but anyway, I couldn't talk to her or anything. I didn't write her messages, but I'm stalking her on Instagram.
Yeah, my mom does the same. I just
She has amazing Instagram. Yeah, didn't last long, as you see, 3 months only. Okay, these are just examples. Now, finally, can we have a crush on a non-human being?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. How can it happen? Like, how do you imagine that?
I think I have had a crush on like my friends' pets.
Oh,
Maybe dogs, I would say. Pets.
Yeah, for me, it's been cats that I've seen a really cool cat, and I'm like, wow, I really would love if you came to live with me.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
I think I mean, I would frame it differently, like some plants that like I've seen walking around, like, wow, you're really cool. It would be really nice if we like if you were like right outside my window.
Yeah.
But you're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've had crushes on so many cats throughout my life because I'm also allergic to them. So I'm forced to have the distance and have imaginary relationships with cats. Yeah. Um, but what about like other animals which are not like pets or something? Like some animals that we see on the internet, do you think it is possible to form some sort of a parasocial relationship or something with them?
There's some viral animals on Instagram or something.
Yeah,
So I really
yeah,
enjoy watching much.
yeah. Camila told me recently, like, can you share the story about huh?
Some small village and villages. And so she would have this habit to go to the village and to rest on the old boats. Like, she put her huge body on boats and spent hours there just resting. And they couldn't, how to say, make her not to do it again because it's traumatizing people that want to do. And they used to move her, like assassinating her somewhere back to nature. And actually they killed her because they would find another way to prevent her using those places as places for relaxation.
Yeah.
So they decided to kill her instead.
But you also mentioned that some people who lived there like, had very
Yeah, that made lots of people angry. And exactly.
Reminds me of the American Dreadful.
But what happened to the bear? Did they sedate her? No.
She's caged, but she's not gonna be killed.
Okay.
But probably will be in a cage for the rest of her life.
Yeah. Okay. Well.
Okay, with people, all those who invented people, we have this kind of design. So we can last, as you said, for 3 months, 6 months a day.
Mm-hmm.
But with non-human entities, beings, and creatures,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How long can it last?
yeah,
Yeah, that's
the time is relevant in that kind of relationship. Because for us, it's important as we want to be engaged with the person.
right.
So that's why we count time
Yeah.
as I think sometimes
Yeah.
that's but with another being, this is
Yeah. Well, that's a really good point. I think we can turn to it like a bit later because I think that like when we talk about crushes and especially in terms of the parasocial paradigm, which is connected with it, mm, we also assume some sort of mediation, like this attraction and this image of a person who is being crushed on is mediated by something. So it's not only your imaginary, but it's also some like other images that you receive that influence this imagery that you have in your head. So I think that it is very important, like how these images are mediated through which, I don't know, platforms, resources, or real life interactions, which also matters, and how the communication is formed. Like when I was thinking about crushes and non-human beings, like for me, the biggest question was and still is how do we communicate? Because we know that within like society we communicate verbally, which is like, or through images like sharing videos or something. Hey, hey. That's it. We are discussing can if if we can have a crush on a non-human being. Yeah, right. She's an absolute crush. Yeah, she is. Yeah, so I think that it really comes down to how do we communicate and how do we receive messages or how can we exchange like how is this relationship mediated by what means? Because with people it's pretty clear. With animals and like that the animals can also be on the social media, yeah, okay. But as we mentioned, I think we all have here, like I was just brainstorming some things, but I think what we said everything, but like, yeah, favorite tree or plant or flower, because I had a lot of those. I remember that I had once a tree which was growing like near to my house in Moscow, and then we had a terrible storm which and like a lot of trees fell down and this tree fell down and I didn't realize that I actually like this tree was important for me in the landscape until it fell down. This was and I really like I was really worried. Sure, bye. Yeah. Mm, other examples like we can brainstorm like later because so, as you said about communication, that it actually matters, and how this communication is mediated with animals or non-human beings also matters. When I started doing some random research online, and I usually I like watching like lectures on YouTube, so I did a search in Google, and Google suggested really a lot of stuff like this, like mediation for animal and nature communication. Like there's literally meditations on how you can tune your brain into understanding what an animal or a plant or any other non-human beings are telling you. I don't know if you've heard of that, but there are also people who do animal communication professionally, and they kind of talk about how you should, communicate, talk. But again, like I watched a few videos from this Dr. Cara Gubbins, um, and this really sounds sometimes like she's doing some magic. I mean, in the traditional sense of the word, because she's like, oh, you should listen, you should like be in a certain state of mind. So although I think that there is really a thing like some professionals who know how to interact with animals on a more, I don't know how to say, professional level. Yeah, but she also had some meditation for like attuning to the nature or to an animal and how to receive messages from them. But I would really like to ask, because I don't have much experience with pets or animals, like how do you communicate if you have a pet? How do you communicate with them? Like how do you understand like that they want to tell you something?
Well, that's like with the cats, it was always like sign language, like when they got like low down water closet, I usually wanted to take her out to the water closet. So like it was very much like, yeah, body language.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not verbal.
Yeah. But
I have an example because, I mean, when we adopted our Siamese cat, he was kind of feralish, so he was 2 years old, and the last year he was living alone in an apartment. And also he was very heartbroken by previous owner or companion given him up for adoption for us. So, and he lived with my mother for a long time, and he was not at all like, how to say, contact. He would just be very separated. And then I watched when I moved back to Canada, I watched like 11 seasons of a TV show called My Cat from Hell. It's you can Google that if you have internet. It's very interesting thing. And basically there is a guy, and it's the type of TV show, when they come to My Cat from Hell.
okay.
So like the type of TV show when the guy would come, like people would come to a house and do like a makeover.
But they make your
Yeah.
head.
Yes, so they would come to apartments when people were like very done with the cats, and some cats were like terrific. And this guy would come and he would. It's fantastic.
Well, I want to watch that. now.
So, and he would just help the dog or cat owner, the person, to understand psychology behind what we would call misbehavior. And all these attacks that my cat, for example, used to do, actually they come not because the pet is inherently evil, but because he kind of trapped into environment when that cat doesn't have a comfort space. And if you like build it accordingly around the cat, it drops this aggression, it drops. And we did all of those things suggested by the guy, and we improved drastically. And people who now know my cat, they know him as like somehow still like a nice cat. I mean, he has his episodes, but mostly he's nice. And it's a very interesting, it's a very extreme example, but yeah. Because sometimes even the cats are very small, but then they can actually harm you a lot. Mine was like biting, and like he would try to escape, and then when you bring him back from like apartment to the stairs, he would just cut you all through like you're bleeding, and you would beat and it would bite, and it's difficult. But it's because he feels unsafe.
Yeah, so I think like this is a very interesting thing also to explore in terms of
It's a bit problematic.
yeah, sure.
At least it seems to me, because what we're talking animal brain, so they are kind of adapted to the communication style of humans. And other animals they might be not very interested to be understood in a way.
Yeah.
You said something like to get a message or to understand the message of animals. I'm trying to.
Yeah, I said that on purpose because this was like after I watched the videos from this woman, she was like she was talking a lot about how sometimes animals or our pets communicate their needs to us, and like it's not necessarily like, I don't know, sending a message, but it can be, as Holden said, like a certain gesture or a certain behavior, and then you know that, like you know how to respond to that. That is also a language, because obviously there is a lot of nonverbal component about it. But I really recommend you, like, because this is really curious. Also, this video, like, about this, I don't know, this is very specific. Like all these meditations, I never knew such things exist, but they are really curious. Okay, and now we have some examples from how the interactions with non-human beings or even non-living beings can be established through kind of a romantic paradigm in a way. So I don't know if you know who these two people are. Yeah, can you say something?
So these two people are they're the people who have established the field of ecosexuality, and they're both performance artists.
Yeah.
And I believe this is one of their performances where they marry some, where they profess their love to some entity or being that would usually be considered a earth or a river.
Yeah. So Beth Stevens and Annie Sprinkle are performance artists. Beth teaches in some university in California, and they both explored like the topics of sexuality and being queer. Annie also has a background as a sex worker, so after they met, they started working like as a duo. Also, they got married to each other, but not only to each other, because they are really engaged with the concept of eco-sexuality, and they wrote a manifesto about it. And obviously, when they speak about sexuality here in ecosexual, it means that it means a certain compassionate relationship towards nature, and like interacting with nature in a very kind and loving way, which doesn't necessarily mean that you should go, like, I don't know, have sex with a tree. Like, obviously not. Although, if I think I have, yeah, this is just a screenshot from the video of one of their weddings. Here is a link, so I think you can like find it later when I will send the slides. And so, oh God, I lost my thought. Yeah, so this doesn't necessarily mean like a physical sexual relationship with non-human, but it means being compassionate and caring and forming this love towards your environment and towards other beings, just the same as you would love, I don't know, somebody you have a crush on, or somebody who you are in a romantic relationship with. And they did, yeah.
So we have ants.
Yeah, that's a good.
I mean, can we, in that an eco-sexual sense, should we be exclusive with some non-human beings? Or
I mean, it doesn't mean it's about everyone. It's not like, I love everything that they're, like, that's for people to, like, I love many people, but there are many people that absolutely.
Yeah. And there can also be like abusive relationships, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. With mold especially, and the cockroach.
But like if you were in a different situation where like, I don't know, maybe you had like so much food and your answers like only people are, maybe you could be like, just like I love you, like, you should go over there, here's your food. Nice. Yeah. Or maybe it's like you can stay inside the car.
I have to think about non-human animals in a way coming back to my cat, he wouldn't let me to harm him at all or to like to be uncomfortable. If I do something that he's uncomfortable, he's fighting. So I feel like I have to be equal and fight with him for my comfort back. And same with like more feral animals or wild animals. They wouldn't let you to overstep boundaries. They would fight for that, and you have to fight yourself.
Yeah.
For your well-being.
Yeah, but I really recommend like taking a look at these weddings because they are wild and really cool as performances. And here's just a brief description from their website, and here they list a bunch of weddings that they had. They married Earth, Sky, Moon, Snow, Coal, which is interesting, by the way, speaking of overheating. Sun, soil, yeah. All of them are non-living, by the way, but I think also what this kind of rituals and performances do is kind of vitalizing and, I don't know, bringing some living spirit to something that we normally consider dead. Yeah.
I think this is very interesting, but I wonder, isn't wedding like marriage supposed to be like consensual?
Right.
I really wonder
Yeah.
why they chose the marriage phase.
Yeah, right. Marriage should be consensual, sure. And they even have like in the video there are episodes where you see like people making the consent, but this is really also problematic in terms of coming back to communication. Like, how can we know that the earth says yes when we want to marry her?
Yeah.
Also, yeah, this is another example of their work. This is like super ecosexual because it's called A Bed of Dirt. This one was in Manifesto 14, but they also participated in Documenta. I don't exactly remember the number of
I
documents.
found an answer.
Yeah.
I'm such a bad student. Sorry.
No, come on.
The thing is, when we say that the answer, the reaction that someone is involved,
Yeah.
yes or no,
Yeah.
we position ourselves, like we create this boundary, but this distinction between us and the other.
Mhm.
But in that way, we are here, so we are completely consistent
Mhm.
with the same elements that it does.
Yeah.
And cold and being and snow.
Mhm.
So to be tricky with that, we could say that
Mhm.
we already the answer.
Mhm.
We can say
Yeah, because
for them.
if we ask, we separate ourselves again, like from the earth or the soil. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And that also like comes back to the issue of subject-object thing, as I mentioned before in the definition, because this obviously is very problematic. Like whether or not we should have this subject-object differentiation here, or is it like, do this position change? Obviously they do change, and like what happens to them?
Thank you so much.
Thank you too.
Sorry.
Yeah, sure. Um,
Still can come
yeah.
this arguments in especially non-human animals.
Mhm. Yeah, it's gonna be much different. Yeah, I agree. And also, like a few other things that I wanted to show. I will maybe speak about this one very quickly because this is a Eugen app, which was created by Russian curator Alexander Brinkov. It is like an actual app. You can download it from App Store or Android. And the idea is that every day the app sends you an instruction from an artist. They have around 30 artists there, so within 1 month, every day you receive new instruction from an artist, and each instruction says how you can interact with the non-human environment around you. And there are like a lot of different approaches to that because each of the artists sees this interaction differently. Yeah, this is how it looks like. Also very beautiful. But yeah, so this is like for speaking of how we can interact, how we can perceive, interpret messages, or I don't know, form relationships, communications, interactions with the non-human world. This, I think, suggests us, like offers a lot of the ways how we can do that. And one of those is a project, but okay, it's mentioned in this app, but the project was initiated like earlier. It is by Polish artist Agnieszka Kurant. Kurant, I think I'm pronouncing her surname right. She made a project which is called Animal Internet. It was in 2017, 2018 where she started working on it. And so what she discovered was that many animals in the wild are actually being observed by cameras that are hidden, and like the data from those cameras comes to some scientific centers where people who monitor these animals sit and like can watch them live their life in the wilderness. And these animals, they have no idea that they are being watched. So what the artist did for her project on the animal internet, she collaborated with some students who did tech and robototechnics kind of. And they created animals which were actually robots, but they looked like animals. And they put these robots in front of the cameras. So the robots were programmed to behave in a certain way and perform a certain lifestyle in front of the camera. So this was like a very performative gesture. And on these screens, like there is also a video, but I think there is a link somewhere later. Two of these shots are taken from the actual animals that are being observed without knowing it, and two other ones are robots that are designed especially for being observed. So here is the description of that I just spoke about, and here is the link to the video if you want to see it. But also, if you download the app, it is on the app. And what I really liked is this instruction, which Grant suggests for her project. She wants us to think of some animals that we watch through videos or webcams and find the place in our city or region where we can see them in real life and plan your travel. So basically, what she's trying to offer us to do here is to break this crush paradigm of parasocial interaction. Here, I'm not even sure we can say parasocial here because it's not quite social. So as we mentioned before, for a crush to come into a relationship, we should have a certain frequency of real life interactions. And she's encouraging us to break this wall here and actually go and see these animals in real life, although maybe we are used to seeing them on the screen somewhere, which is actually, I think, a very important, thing to do when we want to establish a different connection. And for the final, thing, interactive part. So I suggest you to choose a non-human being that you could consider your crush and analyze it through this criteria. You can share it if you want, or if you want, maybe you could do it privately. Maybe like take notes somewhere. Maybe if somebody knows right ahead what they want to talk about, that would be cool. Also, I mean, we can listen to people from online. Oh, it's only Matilda here. Matilda, if you want to say something, you can. Yeah, just turn on your mic and speak up.
Hi. Yeah, thanks for the presentation. It was amazing. Wow.
It's good to hear you.
Absolutely. I will think about it. I don't know. But yeah, go on. Maybe I'll say something later.
Yeah. So, does anyone have an idea of a non-human crush that you really had?
There's something to say about in June, there's gonna be 9-year anniversary of us adopting Shishka. So she doesn't have a birthday because we don't know the birthday, but we celebrate the Found Day because she just was picked up from the street. It was not adoption. So we're gonna have a party. So you're invited.
Nice.
For your crush and you can prepare gifts and tickets, snacks, and we're gonna celebrate Shishka.
A nice bandana.
Big group of friends, she loves partying, she loves singing. It's quite old, it's 9 years, so she will be happy to have you all.
That's really nice.
Shishka party.
Thank you.
If you already crash, it's not a crash anymore.
What?
If you already live with your crash, that means that it's already not crashing.
I think it can be still considered a crush. Why not?
Oh, me? I don't know.
The horror.
No, I'm just a reflection about Madonna and the teacher relationship.
No, I was talking about that as like your crush. Guys, and my crush is actually Cici. I was showing them. Just yesterday I celebrated 1-year anniversary of meeting Cici for the first time.
Oh, I saw
I posted
your
this story
stories.
because you didn't see I will show now. She's a very rectangular girl. She's also 14 years old. She's calling me my seeker at one point. She lives.
She was my area.
Yes, she lives. She's fantastic. She can drink from like a drinking fountain. She's really nice.
Yeah.
She's very fun. She's very awesome.
How ready to die for her?
I'm ready to die for Cici. Absolutely.
And how do you evaluate your romantic potential?
She doesn't like me back at all. Unfortunately, she's very different. She's very food motivated. Mostly up and through, she was like, I don't know, I like to ask sort of, I don't know, I usually interact with dogs only if they consent. You know, like you can see dogs wanting you to touch it, for example, right? So Cici was never consented to me. I would only take a picture of her non-consensually and photo of her own human. Actually, my friend was talking to her human. So yeah, and she didn't know because it is sometimes the kind of not Cici and one-sided.
Yeah.
I would like
I have a very, very big crush with the dog. And we went to the dog Becky.
To be done, Becky.
information.
On Lido.
No, it's
That's nice. Why did you say? Why did you say Lido?
Lisa.
Ah, okay.
And I met a dog there. It was sitting on the bench. It was smoking. I was just admiring the little fluffy white dog with
Mhm.
and she came to me. She came to me and started passing her. I think it was her. So I patted her for 10 minutes. It felt a lot. And then her people, they went to it and they told her and she ran away towards me. And then she turned to me and did something. Oh, and she turned
That's
to me.
cute.
Something wild.
And she said goodbye or something, or thank you or anything. She showed me that she would just, I don't know, something that I got as a gratitude.
Yeah. Wow.
Financial.
It was, yeah, kind of. I think, yeah. But we didn't end up dating, but kind of 80-ish, I would say.
Yeah. Wow. That's really cool.
And I was still numbers. She's, oh, they were so
Yeah.
far not numbers. No, I had one more crush.
Yeah.
Did you have
A non-human crush? Yeah, I think, yeah, of course I do because I'm allergic to pets and it's my dream since, I don't know, forever that I really want to have a cat. And I remember I was once visiting my grandparents in my hometown and I was like scrolling some local groups on Contacti where they like sell some anything actually they sell there, and somebody was selling the kittens like from the cat. They were like giving away the little kittens. They were like 2 or 3 of them, and there was such an amazing cat. It was white. It was very fluffy. It was really really cute, and I was dying to get it. Like I thought like if I had a chance, like if I didn't have allergy, I would yeah get it. But I'm still hoping that I'll have it soon.
There is not an allergic cat.
There are sometimes, yeah, but yeah, maybe. I'm just thinking that I will consider that later once I have a permanent place to live, probably because I have some friends who have been moving like places in countries with that, and it's quite hard. Yeah.
I mean, to say it's those two.
Yeah.
Like, I'm happy I have pets now. It's totally,
Mhm.
it's harder, and also I feel like European country, they in general more different friendly than Australian. Because like in Kiev, there is no, you're not allowed to metro, you're not allowed to many places like bars, markets, anywhere. And here you can go almost everywhere in Venice.
Mhm.
So it's very nice. And I mean, I was raised in our apartment in the center, then like the picture and she was comfort. They're very cute indeed.
Okay, so I mean, we can discuss it also later after I finish, but here are some books that two of the first one Professor Timeto recommended to me, but I haven't read them yet. But I can send you the PDFs because we have them. So these are related to human, non-human communications, interactions, etc. The third one is from Annie Sprinkle and Beth Stevens, assuming asexual position. Yeah, and the last one, it's a book which is mostly about performance, but also like how nature is involved in different performative practices that we can have in culture and arts and in general. Yeah, so I think that this is it. It wasn't too long. I'm so happy because I was like worried that it's gonna take a long time. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, if you have any thoughts or something, I would be super glad to discuss anything. I think I can close the presentation now. Yeah. I will I will send it to you. Yeah. Hmm? No, but I think I will stop it. Yeah?